you beautiful people. I'm Amber Enerson,
And I'm Kelsey Enerson.
and this is our podcast titled You Are the Alchemist. For this week's episode, in honor of Pride Month, I would like for my sister to share her story about different things that she has gone through and different experiences that she's had. It's going to be a very unique perspective from mine, so she's actually going to kind of take the lead on this episode, and I'm just going to kind of put in my 2 cents wherever it's needed.
All right. Well, I think for now, I'm just going to tell my coming out story. I've had different experiences with the whole rainbow life, but I think I'm just going to start with the coming out story for this episode. Bear with me because it's been a while since I've had to tell the whole story. So, I'm a little out of practice. So, as some of you may know, me and Amber, we grew up in a independent fundamental Baptist church and household. We attended independent fundamental Baptist schools.
Homeschooling. Don't forget the homeschooling.
And we had a little bit of homeschooling in there, yes. And if you don't know a lot about that religion, it's extremely, what's the word?
I would say
Cult-like?
Yeah. Besides the polygamy aspect, it's pretty much Mormon, except we're not polygamists or independent Baptists.
So yeah, like, couldn't wear pants as a woman. You couldn't go out and do secular activities like go to the movies, go to the pool, go bowling, stuff like that. You couldn't be with the same sex, like, in any room, or, like, you had to keep a arm's length away distance. Like, there was no fraternizing with the opposite gender. It was,
18-inch rules and 6-inch rules were life.
No secular music. We only listened to piano music with, like, hymns.
Yep. And it couldn't be Southern hymns, because Southern hymns, there was too much sliding. It was too rock and roll.
It was a very clear-cut dress code. Like, yeah, it was, I don't know how else to explain it. It was just very uptight.
It was very extreme.
Yeah.
And the thing with it is, like, most of the people actually believed
in what they were doing,
what was being taught. Yeah. Like, they did not see the harm. They did not see...
But there was also a lot of hypocrisy, as in, like, well, if you don't do this, you're not good enough. Like, you're not a good person.
And you could rarely trust intentions, because they would be one way in front of you and then a completely different way behind your back.
Yeah, backstabbing, stuff like that. So basically, I think it would be needless to say, but gay was bad. There was absolutely no room for the rainbow community. Anyone of that community was going straight to hell, damnation. There was no chance for life for them in heaven.
One of the favorite stories was the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And that was always used to discuss, like, the LGBTQA+ community.
Yeah. And
outside of denying God, that was the most blasphemous thing you could do.
Correct. Yeah. That God destroyed an entire two cities because of. And, I mean, I've done much research, and I'm here to say that is not what happened. But we can get into that some other day if anyone wants to.
Religious discussions we can save for later.
But, so basically, I grew up knowing that there was no room for any form of anything that was not a straight couple, man and woman. So, I guess, looking back now, my first girl crush was when I was probably 10 or 11, I think. At the time, I did not know that's what that was. When I was younger, I don't know if anyone else played this game, but in my head at night, when I couldn't fall asleep, I would pretend I had, like, 3 wishes. And my first wish was always, I wish I was a boy. Now, I am not trans. However, I thought the only way I could be with a girl is if I was a boy. So that's why that was my first wish, because I liked girls and I knew that I liked girls, but I knew that you could only be with a girl if you were a boy. So my first wish in my game was, I wish I was a boy. And then my second wish was, I wish so and so was my girlfriend, which was my first crush. So my first crush was on a girl that my mom mentored. She was quite a bit older than me. I think she was like 18.
Yeah.
18 when I was like 10 or 11. But I just had an infatuation with her. And at the time I thought that that's what it was. Like, I just wanted her to like me and I wanted to like be her friend and like I wanted to be like her. Stuff like that. But as I got older, I obviously, looking back, I knew that I had a very bad
It was
puppy love crush.
It
Like,
was a very different,
yes, it was not just a friend type thing.
or someone to look up to,
Yeah.
or like a role model type thing.
Yeah, that was not at all what it was. So jump forward to about 12. I had been battling with these feelings, playing my game in my head. And there was a man. He was 23 when I was 14. We knew him and his family through the church. I'm trying to figure out how to like explain this. We knew them growing up from the church, and I think we met their family when I was maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah, we knew them for a long
Okay.
time.
So we knew the family. I trusted the family. He had been on like family vacations with us. We homeschooled with his siblings for a while. My mom and his mom were very close. And I kind of just saw him as like an older brother, I guess. Just someone
Yep.
that I could trust. Well, it's a long story, but basically he came back into our lives. And at this point, he had married man, how old would she have been?
18? 18,
No,
19?
she was your age. So if I was 14, she would have been 17.
Yeah.
So he was 23 and she was 17. And he had called me one night after speaking to my parents about coming over or something. I don't actually know. But earlier that year, we had gone to their church because we were at a different church by now. But we had gone to their church for a Christmas play, and it was like in my time of wearing like punky stuff, and I don't know. He said that his wife, our old friend that we grew up with, really liked my outfit. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's great. Okay. And then he proceeded to tell me that, like, his wife was attracted to girls. And I was like, oh, okay. And that, like, piqued my interest, obviously. And the conversation kind of just went on. And at this point, he was grooming me, like, getting me ready to try things, you know?
Right.
But obviously at that age, I was 14. I had no idea what was about to happen. So one thing led to another, and I did end up in a relationship with this girl and him. And that is something we will explore in
Later.
a different episode.
Yeah.
Because that is way too deep to get into right now. But he was the first person that saw that I was attracted to girls and acknowledged it and made me feel safe about it. And made me feel like it was okay. So that is the first time I acknowledged that I was whatever I was. I didn't put a label on it.
Well, and especially with his wife, she had been someone that had grown up in a similar childhood that we had. So it was also even a deeper level of being safe. Like, you're not the only one who grew up in this religious environment
Right. And
that
he
feels
grew
this
up in the
way.
same religion, and he was telling me how it was okay and that I was just being taught the wrong thing my whole life. Blah, 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 which I was. That is true, but he used it to his benefit. So that is when I realized that I was gay or attracted to women or whatever I thought I was at that point. Um, so I did not come out to my parents for a long time after that. I did end up dating my wife, my current wife right now, later on. And during that time, her dad actually got a hold of some text messages between us, rather explicit, if I do say so. Her father has seen pictures of me that I am not happy about, unfortunately.
And most people's fathers should
Yes.
probably not see about their sister-in-laws. Or daughter-in-laws. Yeah, not sister-in-laws. Daughter-in-laws.
So that is actually my big coming out story. Was I did not get to come out. I was outed. Her dad called my dad and had a very explicit conversation and explained in detail the messages. And it was extremely embarrassing. It was very agonizing. It was very scary. It was a terrible experience. It was not done on my terms in any way. But I denied it at first. I didn't. I said that it was, I just denied it, even though I knew there was proof. But I sat with it for a while because I knew that they didn't believe me, and then eventually I did go and tell them, like, yeah, it was true. Because I think at first I tried telling them that it was a different Kelsey or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just grasping at straws. But I did finally say, like, yes, that's the truth. I am with Brooke and I'm attracted to girls. And my parents did the whole religious thing. They told me I was oppressed by Satan and that demons had gotten a hold of my heart and I didn't have God within me anymore and I needed to find my way back to Christ. And I don't remember everything, but it was a very long conversation about how I had turned my back on God and Satan had a hold of me and was oppressing my spirit, and so on and so on and so on. I mean, luckily they did not kick me out. I am thankful for that. They didn't disown me. That is a very terrible thing that people do to their kids. And I was lucky enough to not have that happen to me. But I did feel extremely discouraged and I felt unwanted and I felt like I had disappointed them because, well, they told me I disappointed them and it just felt awful. So, like I told them, like, okay, yeah, I'll work on getting closer to God. They're like, yes, I'll fix this, blah, 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 blah. Well, obviously, it wasn't something I could fix. So I tried, you know, I tried and I didn't try, I guess. Like, I pretended.
It was more from how I perceive it, and I was not fully present this entire time. I was actually at Bible college.
Yeah,
For some of this, I was actually not around for some of this. This was happening. But I did know, and I did have an awareness even when she was younger. And it seemed almost like you really wanted to fix it. You really wanted to change it. Like you wished.
I was devout. Like I was a devout Christian, and I struggled with it. Yeah, and like I wasn't gonna really get into all that, but I did struggle very much. I still have struggled as an adult. At one point, me and my wife almost broke up because I didn't think that what I was doing was right.
And there's
years later, I thought that I was gonna go to hell, and like there is, like, speaking of the subconscious, like we talked about, there is still that subconscious in me that goes there. At 31 years old, I still have that.
Yeah.
And I still have internal homophobia issues where, like, I don't feel comfortable with myself. I don't feel comfortable with others around me sometimes because that was beaten into my head so bad because of where I grew up. And I mean, I'm not going to get into all that right now. That's why that's why I was trying to just stick with the coming out story.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when she said she tried but she didn't try, she really did want to try, but she couldn't. Like, you can't change
it's not
that.
something that I could turn off. And that's what I told my parents. I was like, if this was a choice, do you really think I would choose to make my family and all the people around me dislike who I am? Because the only people I had were in my church, my family.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't something that I was choosing to disappoint. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm going to like this girl and I'm going to want to be with her just so I can piss people off.
Right.
Just so I can make people feel bad. But anyways, me and Brooke tried to keep communication as much as we could, but we had our phones taken away and stuff like that.
Both parents were against this at
Right.
this point.
Yes. Some way we did find it. This was years later. At this point I was like 17, I think, and I was getting ready to move out. So when I moved out, me and Brooke, you know, we found our ways back to each other. But eventually me and Brooke did end up breaking up when she went to college. And me and my parents had never spoken about this again. They, as far as they knew, I was back on track. But I was not. So
the beauty of living on your own.
Yeah. So me and Brooke had broken up, and I had dated a couple other girls, and I ended up getting back together with my original first girlfriend that was married, but she had gotten divorced at that point from the guy. And we got back together, and she started living with me. And my parents like to drop by a lot, so I was like, you know what? I need to just tell them because I don't want them to drop by one day and you be here and there be a huge thing.
Yeah.
So I did not feel like I could have a face-to-face conversation with them because of how the last one went. I did not feel confident enough or safe enough, or like I would stick to myself. I thought that I would just give in again. So I ended up writing them an email or like a Facebook message or something like that.
It was a letter. And you're all like, we had a large group of us that lived in this house, and we all were like with her, helping her figure out how to word things. And
yeah. So I sent them a long letter coming out and basically telling them, like, you either accept me as who I am or like you won't be a part of my life.
Right.
Is basically what it came down to. And my parents, well, I don't really think my dad said a whole lot, but my mom turned it more into her. It was more like, how could you do this to us? How could you not have a conversation with us?
Right.
And at that point, I had confided in one of my mom's best friends, and she was upset about that.
It was a very dramatic time
Yes.
in our family.
And honestly, I think I have blocked a lot of it out. I don't remember exactly what happened. My mom was not a fan of Candace because of the situation with her and her husband, which is understandable, but it has always rooted back to her feelings about herself. It has never been about...
Well, and also about us not listening to her. Like, if we had just listened, some of these things wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And a lot of even how did she feel as a parent? Because with everything we were conditioned to believe, she also was in that church.
Right. And she felt that she had failed me, and she asked me what she did wrong to make me how I was and stuff like that, which wasn't the point. But I was out finally, and it was on my own terms, but I guess it wasn't really my coming out story because I had already been outed.
But it still is the same thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes that happens.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, obviously, I didn't end up with that person, and that person moved on and moved out, and it was all messy from the beginning. Of course, it's a very long story.
Yep.
But now I am happily married to Brooke, my wife, and we are raising our daughter to believe that love is love no matter how you look at it, who it is, and without confinement.
Yep. You also have the support of both of your families now.
Yes.
There still is that
There isn't full acceptance, I don't believe. There is
No.
acceptance of me and my wife, but it is not, we accept all gay people, or we accept all rainbow people, or we accept all...
It's a learning curve. It's going to be a learning curve, which is pretty much all of society.
Yes. But I think that there are certain family members that will never be open to all of it.
Right.
But
as far as parents, though, no.
Dad is one of the, I don't care if two girls are together, but
he
two
tries.
Guys,
he tries
blah, blah,
his
blah.
best.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, we've progressed from where we were. My parents are no longer religion affiliated. And things have gotten much better than they used to be.
Even from a societal standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
It's gotten so much better. Because still, like back then, there was still resistance even from people in society and other people.
And there will always be resistance.
Right.
I mean, we just went to Ottawa Pride yesterday and there were protesters there, you know. And there was this woman, she had a 4 or 5-year-old hanging on her, teaching them hate already. You know?
Right.
But just be careful what you teach your kids, because you could be teaching them to hate themselves, because I did for a very long time. And I felt very alone for a long time. And I self-mutilated for a long time. And I was depressed, and I still deal with all of those issues, because that was what I was conditioned to feel at such a young age.
Right.
So people just need to have more grace and more love and not care. Like, who cares how people feel? Just let them feel.
Yeah. And that's my belief. Like, I don't care what other people do or who they need to love or how they need to be or how they feel that they are. I don't care about any of that. If you're a good person and you are trying your best every day to love people, to show kindness, to show grace, then, just let people be
and
who they are.
People are so sure, a lot of people are so sure that, like, if we educate children on, LGBTQA+, that, oh my God, they're gonna be one. Like,
no.
They already are one if they are, like, it's already there.
I mean, I'm educated on all of that.
If you're not educating them, they just don't know what they're doing. They don't know their place in the world.
Right.
They just don't understand it. Because I knew, like, looking back, I knew when I was 5, 6 years old.
You wore tool belts and backwards hats.
That's not fair. No, that's a stereotype.
I know, but I
know
even
Tom
when you were
girls
younger,
that are straight.
Even when you were younger, you always wanted to be a boy.
I was attached to girls. I always, like, your kids need to be educated, whether they are straight, gay, non-binary, trans, because even the straight kids need to understand that they are not the only type of people in the world.
Right. And everybody else in the world shouldn't have to
conform.
Yeah. You should not. Everyone is not the same and should not be expected to be the same.
And I felt completely and utterly alone, and like no one understood me, because I knew that the straight people in my life would hate me. And that is what happened. Majority of the people that found out completely neglected me and dropped me.
Or they would try and say that they were doing things out of love.
Yes.
But it wasn't out of love. It was because you didn't fit in their
mold.
box
Yeah.
anymore. You didn't fit how they
Or
believed you should
we
be.
love you, we just don't love the sin.
Yeah. It was
I am
all, it
not
all came down to
sinning.
that.
It's not a sin. We will get into that one day. I can explain all of it. But saying that to someone is literally the worst possible thing you could ever say to them. Like,
especially when it's not a choice.
it's disgusting.
And that person struggles anyways.
No. But yeah, that's my coming out story. And we better get off the subject because I could, I'll just go off.
Hours and hours long.
I'm sure I missed a few key points, but it's been a while.
Yeah, and it's more just to show other people that they're not alone.
No.
Like, that's why I wanted her to share her story, because I've never actually heard her story from an outside perspective. I lived it with her, and I was there with her through it, but hearing her talk about it, it's a completely different perspective. Yeah. Because you don't understand the struggles underneath.
Yeah.
And it really is just so that people know that they're not alone. And there are other people who struggle. And there are great success stories. And you will find people who will accept you. And the ones that don't accept you, then that's on them.
Yeah. And I have a great crew now.
Yeah.
And no, they're not all gay or bi.
No.
I have straight friends.
Acceptance. Acceptance is key.
They're out there.
And
but you just gotta find your groove. And I understand that people are scared and you do it on your time, but also don't diminish yourself and don't neglect yourself and don't, like, if your family or your friends or the people that you think are important to you can't accept you for who you are, then they don't deserve to have you. And I know that might be hard to hear, but at this point, if my parents didn't accept me, they would not be in my life.
And that's honestly what changed them in the end, is that they could not bear the thought of losing their daughter. Which I know that's not how everyone's story
it's not.
goes,
It's not how everything goes. But, and my mom is more open than I ever thought my mom, I never thought that my mom could be as open-minded as she is now.
And she asks questions, and she tries to understand if it's something that she doesn't understand, because some people legitimately don't. They don't understand. But she will seek answers.
And sometimes she'll come back with, well, that's just not how it was. And I'll come back with, well, that's how it is now.
Right.
Like, yeah, you grew up in a different time. You were taught different things. But you guys also didn't know anything about mental health either. Mm-mm. But you're open to learning about that.
Right. It really is just being open to evolve and learn and grow and accept what it is. Because there is one thing that's guaranteed in this world, and that is change. Yes. There will always be change. There will always be new developments. And, I mean, look at science and everything. If we wouldn't have been open to that, we wouldn't be as advanced as we are when it comes to science and health and mental health. So, I don't know. I am really grateful that you shared your story, though. I think that it can help a lot of people.
I hope so. And obviously, I will speak more about it as time goes on. There's obviously things that happened in between. I've experienced hate and love, But yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah, and if you do need support in this area, or it is something you are struggling with, do use the email address in the description.
Yeah,
because I will get it. I will get it to my sister. And
I am very open. I've actually been thinking about doing a little more in that field.
Yeah.
Mental health field and LGBTQA+. There's too many letters, guys. Can I just say rainbow people? I like rainbow people.
Rainbow people works for me.
I like rainbow people. It just sounds beautiful. So, yes, of course, email, the website, whatever. I don't know words that I'm saying.
Yeah, comment on the post.
Yes, I am here. I don't have all the answers. I don't, but I will talk to you about gay stuff or not gay stuff or
struggles,
mental health, depression, suicide, psych ward. I've done it all. So you guys have questions, I am here for you.
All right. Hopefully this helps a lot of you. And until next time, it was great talking with you.
We'll see ya.